Okay, my name is April Brown, and I am the Digital Media Coordinator for the Archaeological Conservancy. For those of you who do not know who the Conservancy is, they're a national nonprofit organization that acquires and preserves archaeological sites across the nation. And we are based in Albuquerque, and we own about 550 sites across the nation. And we actually are funded through donations and memberships, which I'll tell you a little bit more about later on. My background, I just graduated from the University of New Mexico with a Bachelor of Science in Anthropology, a concentration in Archaeology, and a minor in GIS. That's a mouthful. But I got my start using drones during my junior and senior year at UNM. Here I am at a rock art site near my home in White Rock, New Mexico, with my drone. And this is kind of how I got my start with using drones. Was I had the idea to capture rock art using drones because there's so many places that they're just way out of reach or dangerous to get to. And as anyone who has visited rock art sites knows, the rock art is just disappearing, and rock falls and weather is destroying it year by year. So I really wanted to document these sites in a new way. And I chose this model of drone. I'll tell you just a little bit about it. I won't bore you with the technical details, but it's a DJI Mavic Pro drone. I chose it because it takes really high resolution photography that I can use for spatial analysis. It takes really high quality professional 4K video. Stable and durable. It can take up to wind speeds up to 22 miles per hour. It's pretty durable. I've had them like hit the ground and not fall apart too easily. Lightweight, easy to carry in a backpack into difficult to reach areas, which is a key factor in archaeology because you don't want to be carrying in really heavy equipment. And most importantly, this model is really affordable compared to some of the other models. It's under $1,000, but some of the really high quality, like really professional drones can run to $3,000. So this is an affordable option for someone who wants to use it for research. And this is actually how I got my start. My research partner, Austin Norris, and I, we were doing a research study at UNN where we were using the DJI Mavic Pro drone to capture photographs of a rock art site in the Jemez Mountains. So just a little bit west of Jemez Springs. This is him. I'm going to show you. Hopefully the video works for you guys and you can see it okay. So this is Austin using the drone to capture photographs in a typewriter pattern of a specific panel that was very large. And he was doing this to create 3D models of the panel so that they could be used to analyze for later on. And I'm going to show you one of those 3D models in just a little bit. So in doing this research, we were able to capture photographs of petroglyphs that were 25, 30 feet off the ground that we would have never been able to photograph any other way. And in fact, in this picture, you can actually see this was a glyph that was way up high, about 25 feet off the ground. And with this photograph, we could actually see even more detail. We could see scratches and etchings that were not visible from the ground. And this is an image that was captured by the drone that's off a cliffside. You're looking at the other side of a rock arch that looks over a very deep canyon. And there's no other way we could have captured this in such great detail. I've taken photographs of the actual glyphs before, on the other side with a camera, but you just don't get the same context of the environment and the related features when you do it that way. And this is a really great way to kind of give context where the rock art's actually located. And this glyph was a great surprise. It was a pictograph. I knew about this rock art site for a really long time. And when we rounded the corner to start running the drone from the bottom, we found this wonderful pictograph. And this is the panel. There were probably about, 10 visible glyphs on this one wall. And we used Austin's pictures that you saw him capturing earlier in the video to create a 3D model. And you can see here, that's the entire rock face that you just saw him capturing, you look really hard. It's hard to see the model in great detail in the presentation. We have it in front of you. You can zoom in and out of it. You can move it around and look at it in different ways. The pictograph I just showed you is in the center there of that model. You look really close. And the figure I showed you earlier of the couple is up here inside of the tree shadow. And interestingly enough, when you zoom in on this 3D model, you can actually see the detail of that glyph in this tree shadow. So that's the level of detail that we could capture with the drone, just taking photographs and video. So aside from my own research, drones are being used throughout the archaeological world, across the nation and the world for various reasons. Drones are becoming very popular because they can be outfitted with sensors and LiDAR equipment, which can see through tree canopy and really map out archaeological sites in great detail. And as in this instance where, you know, the water's receding on the coast, it's making some of these sites really visible from the air. Drones are being used to capture, to create 3D maps, really detailed 3D maps of entire archaeological areas and preserves so that they can be documented and analyzed in different ways from the lab. And this is actually a story from recently from Wichita, Kansas, where they discovered an entire settlement from the air using laser sensors attached to drones. And it would have never been discovered otherwise without a drone in the air. So it offers a great opportunity to see things from a much different perspective. And most importantly, one of my favorite reasons to use a drone in the field is that you don't have to put so many feet on the ground. It causes less disturbance at the archaeological sites, which is sometimes a problem. And finally, locally, the Conservancy is using drones to produce a series of virtual tour videos. And we recently finished production on 2 virtual tour videos, one at Arroyo Hondo Pueblo and another at San Marcos Pueblo. Both of these sites are located just outside of southeast of Santa Fe, New Mexico. And we decided, you know, with the COVID restrictions, this was our 40th anniversary year. We had a lot of special things planned at the Conservancy. And we had planned a bunch of tours and lecture series, and then COVID struck and we kind of had to change our game plan. So we had to cancel our in-person tours. So this was a great opportunity to use the drone to create virtual tours for people from their living rooms so that they can enjoy them and everybody can stay safe. So the Conservancy, we use drones to tell the story of Arroyo Hondo Pueblo. And one of the great things about the drone here, you can see Jim Walker, our Vice President and Southwest Regional Director here. He's standing on the ground at Arroyo Hondo in front of Plaza D. And you know, from the ground, you're looking at a big grassy field full of mounds, which is great for archaeologists to understand what that means. But a lot of people don't understand that, you know, it's still a site buried under there, and there's not exposed walls and kivas and things to see. And here's a sketch drawing of Arroyo Hondo, and Plaza D is up there in the far right-hand corner there. You'll see it. So you get a perspective from the map and from the ground, but then with the drone, you get a really amazing perspective from the air. The features and the room blocks jump off the landscape. This is Gemini standing on the very edge of Plaza D near the arroyo. And then you can see the outline of the room blocks where the kiva once was located, and you can see additional room blocks. And it just offers a really fantastic perspective, like a helicopter tour of the Pueblo that you wouldn't ever get otherwise. Okay, so here's the video of Arroyo Hondo, and like I said, you can see the room blocks and everything pop off the landscape, and it gave us a really fantastic opportunity to present the site in a much more informative way, and it gives a kind of a sense of scale, and it's a great comparison to the map. And here's another example. Here's Mark Michael, the president of the Conservancy. He's standing on the ground at San Marcos Pueblo, and by the way, both of these Pueblo sites are they're Galisteo Basin Pueblo sites. Arroyo Hondo is a coalition Pueblo, existed from about the late 1200s, mid 1200s to early 1300s, had a couple of occupations, And San Marcos was occupied from about 1250 on until about the Pueblo Revolt, just to give you some reference of what kind of sites these are too. And so here's Mark standing on the ground, and as you can see behind him, the site is behind him, and there's a lot of sagebrush. You can see a little bit of grassy fields and everything. And then I'm going to give you the perspective from the air. And there's us walking in about the same area where Mark was standing just a moment ago in the photograph. And you can see the room blocks and the walls just jumping off the ground as the drone hovers above. And so one of the other things I want to point out about the drone is, like, you know, we're using it to tell a story. And what I really love about the drone photography is it gives context of where the site is located in space. You know, this particular Pueblo, and unfortunately I don't have the right view to show you, but this particular Pueblo is located near the Cerrillos Hills. It was a site for mining turquoise. And, you know, in the video, you know, this particular production is not finished. The Arroyo Hondo video is up on YouTube if anybody wants to watch it in its entirety. It's about 20 minutes long. It really shows the mountain landscape and the proximity to all the arroyos and the streams and everything, and kind of tells you where the sites are located and gives you a really fantastic idea of where they are. It's just so different than seeing it on a trail. So just to wrap it up a little bit, I know this was short. Drones, in my perspective, drones are really innovative. They offer some really interesting solutions in archaeology that are kind of new. You know, archaeology has a reputation of being destructive, just inherently. You know, we're digging, we're taking things away, we're putting things in museums. You know, we kind of have to destroy it to research it to some degree. And I think drones offer a really great opportunity to do some non-invasive research that doesn't have to have feet on the ground or shovels in the dirt. You can survey an entire, you know, multi-acre property, just like the San Marcos Pueblo site you were looking at. I mean, you're looking at 65 acres from the air, you know, so like to map that in one day is a time saver. You can locate features and areas of interest before you put feet on the ground. It offers an opportunity to see the site in a much larger perspective. Drones can be outfitted with sensors and lasers and all kinds of different equipment based on the types of situations and the type of research that you want to do. I've even read news stories where drones are being used to identify artifacts on the ground. They're hovering, they've done a specific algorithm, they run a video, and they can detect pieces of pottery laying on the ground and density of pottery and compare the different styles. And it's something that would have had to have been done in the field over many, many months can be done in a few hours in a laboratory now. So they're affordable, and they offer a really timely option to gather to map a site. And you can run, the photo quality is so high that you can use it in spatial analysis programs where you can analyze trails and do feature detection and things like that you might not be able to do, that you might not be able to see with the naked eye. And as I said earlier, drones they reduce survey time. And in our case for the Conservancy, drones have offered a really unique opportunity for us to showcase our sites in a really interesting and informative way. You know, it's one thing to take people on the ground for a tour, but to give them an aerial view of the entire site from different perspectives and be able to point out the plazas and the kivas from the air. It's just a really unique opportunity to see it from a much, much different way. So, and before I completely wrap up, like I said, the Conservancy is celebrating 40 years, and we are funded through memberships and donations. So if you are interested in joining the Conservancy, you can visit our website and or find us on Google or Facebook. And I thank everyone very much.
I'd like to ask you whether you have other films that demonstrate the discovery of some of the things that you mentioned, such as pottery and all of that sort of thing.
I don't personally have that, because that was my personal experience with research. But I could find you some news article links and some research papers that definitely discuss that.
Oh, and where would you find that?
I would have to find them for you, but I studied that. I used one of the paper. Yeah, I studied one of the. So I actually, it's called feature detection, where they actually use an algorithm to find specific features and textures and stuff in the ground. It's a whole research paper actually, but I'd be happy to share it with you. I have it saved on my computer somewhere.
Yeah, no, it would be really interesting to see something discovered, and as a demonstration of a capability.
I have a question. Can you repeat the name of that site in Kansas that you were talking about?
Sure. Let me just pull it back up because I think I have the news story saved somewhere. Hold on one second. Actually, you know what I can do for you guys if you want, if Sherry doesn't mind, what I could do is just, I could create a list of links for you guys that can take you to some of these news stories, and then you all can go visit and read about these wonderful projects that are happening. If that would work for you. Okay, great. I'd be happy to.
I wanted to mention that with your membership with the Archaeological Conservancy, you get a beautiful magazine. I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times a year. And a lot of times they have stories that are just in our area. So it's something to think about.
It is a really beautiful magazine, and it is it's American Archaeology magazine. And all you have to do to become a member is donate, do a $30 membership, and that's all. I'll send you the link for our Royal Hondo virtual tour video as well. It's a really fun video. It has some Arroyo Hondo is a really interesting pueblo. It's kind of got a mystery and an allure to it because there's not a lot known about it except for what they've dug out of the ground, essentially. There's no ancestral links that they can find to it, and it's just a really fascinating site.
April, I have a technical question. What's the range and endurance of your drone? Yeah, could you sit at home and see a site in White Rock, or would you have to be a few hundred yards away before you could operate your drone?
So that's a great question. So by FAA rules, if you want to follow the rules with drones, even though I do not have my FAA license, there is some rules and guidelines that they do put out there for drones. So the key is you're supposed to always have line of sight on your drone. Now, a lot of drone operators do not abide by that. They'll fly their drone way out there and use their their phone or their tablet to see where the drone is in space, because it's very easy to hit a button and say, come home, and the drone will come back to wherever home is, which is a whole nother endeavor. And you better know your settings or it might go somewhere else. I think to answer your question, Jonathan, I think it's a couple of miles. I think the drone itself is capable of being a couple of miles away from you before it loses its connection to the remote. Yeah.
And endurance, a couple of hours, few minutes?
That's a funny question. Drones are, they're wonderful, but I have about 5 batteries for mine because a battery only lasts for about 20 minutes. That's all determined on weather. If the wind is higher and it's fighting the wind all the time, it will last for 15. If it's a really clear, calm day, it might last 25. It brings itself down when it hits a certain point. So it's not ever going to just fall out of the sky and crash. So yeah, it lasts about 20 minutes per battery.
Well, it'd be good to have it near you when it runs out of juice, huh? You'd have to go on quite a hike to get it sometimes.
Well, the great thing is that you can set the drone to warn you at a certain time. So when the battery supposedly has about 15, 20 minutes left, I mean, not 15, 20 minutes, like 15% of the battery is about there, it'll start beeping at me, and I have it set to come home around that time. So if it's up in the air and it gets low, it'll just fly back to me without me doing anything before it'll crash.
So April, I had a question about one of your pictures. You had a picture where you were talking about, it was sort of a cliff face and you could see through the other side. And
yes.
You could see through the other side, and there were little squares.
The little faces.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It also looked like someone had literally placed pieces of rock into a square as well. Do you think that was done by whoever did the actual artwork, or is that just somebody playing around later?
You know, that's a very good question. I've wondered the same thing, but I have to say I've been visiting that site for about 10 years and it's been there the whole time. Now, this is an area where people have set up campfire pits nearby and some rock, you know, tables. And so you kind of, when you're studying this area, you kind of have to, you know, everything you see, you have to kind of be skeptical because you don't know if it's there from the site, the archaeological site, or someone's dropped it there because they found it on the ground somewhere and then threw it down somewhere else. You know, like there's a lot of pottery at the rock art site. I should have shown you guys, but this particular rock art site had cupules, groundstone cupules, where they were grinding pigments as well, which was really special. There was lots of features at this site that could have very well been some kind of shrine, or it could have been just somebody playing around who was near the petroglyphs and put it there. So it's kind of hard to tell, really.
April, if we don't have any more questions, I'd just like to thank you very much for coming and coming on such short notice. And what an interesting talk. Really enjoyed it very much. Everybody give her a clap.
Thank you guys very much.
See everyone.
Thank you. And I'll send you a list of links so you can share them with everybody.